been all around the world trying to find something. Lord knows that something was you. 'Cause I found in myself the one thing that's true.
Hey, welcome back as I celebrate a grand acquisition, as the 22nd platinum of my collection has been achieved, Destiny. And I couldn't be any more happier because after basically 2 years of working at this game, I had finally succeeded in meeting the last requirement set in this flawless raider execution, thus earning me the Guardian Lord's Platinum Trophy of the video game. Now granted, it shows that it's not at 100%, but it is at 100% because it's the general game itself. The whole totality of the normal game is what's at 100%. Downloadable content and extra factors are not applied to the acquisition of the normal flow of events that allow the player to earn the Platinum Trophy. As I can see here, based on what I see on PS3 and PS4, my stuff here for the Taken King is almost complete. It's at 91%. I'm just missing the Echoes of Oryx quest, which I'm going to overlook as it is not necessary at this point anymore. On PS4, it also shows me about the Rise of Iron DLC, but that is also no longer necessary. While I'm here, let me take the time to explain exactly how this came to pass. Originally at the advent of Year 3, the start of the Rise of Iron content on PlayStation 4, I had made a post on forums that I was still trying to look for a team of players to do the Flawless Raider trophy with. At that point, acquiring the trophy for the raiding party, where you got to do the whole raid or a raiding activity with a group of people that are of a gaming clan specifically, that one was irrelevant because I had a friend that could eventually help me with that in due time. The flawless one was the one that was going to be the most troublesome because there's very little that a person can get out of that. And knowing way in advance the type of people I'm going to be playing with, I already know that there's very little that I would get out of this aside from just that trophy, so I just have to try hard at every time and make the most out of what is presented to me. And this was what was presented to me. This general achievement, while huge, is also very different because this is where completing the game to have the platinum status comes from literally working together as a team. Together as a team. It can't be stressed enough. And as the game expanded, I further laughed at this because my usual interactions in the Destiny community were a whole bunch of teams of cunts, assholes, tryhards, races, and wussasses that don't communicate worth a damn at all and give me grief about constantly trying to get good or not doing my part when they're not doing what it is they need to do at all, and they die faster than I do or anybody else on the team that want to do it their way rather than do it in a collective mindset like it's supposed to be done. Like you want to do the whole thing yourself. No, you need to try to work with me or work with your team. Don't do everything yourself just because you can, because once you mess it up, then everybody suffers on that and we got to start the whole thing over again. And this annoyed me to no end with dealing with newer players that are good at doing the raids, yes, but they don't know how to stay alive and they don't stay talkative. They don't communicate. They choose not to communicate. It's like that whole I don't give a fuck mindset. And I don't give a fuck about you when you play like that in my team. And so in a community that grows further selfish or ignorant or blind or foolhardy each day that something new is happening in Destiny that's relevant to something new, rather than taking a step back to the basic building blocks of basic enjoyment in the game, you can see how my general hopes of completing the game would easily die with any further expectation from this game or from its dwindling community. And then one person here had changed my expectation completely on this notion. And so when I started my project, The Triumph of Year 1, that turns the focus towards Year 1 relevant activities only, I received a message here and on my account from cadasanchez, a fan of mine and a fan of a couple other YouTube channels. He's been following me for a pretty good deal of time. He says that he was able to successfully gain that flawless raid or gold trophy on his own by doing a solo flawless execution of the Crota's end raid. And he was able to elaborate and break down bit by bit the key parts of the raid that I noticed, okay, wait a minute, this does sound pretty valid. Between doing the Blade Dancer to the bridge or across the bridge, using the Raise Ladder and or the Celestial Nighthawk combination, executing the bridge glitch, when you get to the second part, and when you get to Death Singers, and lastly going into Crota itself with the Chalice and going to the cheese spot adjacent to Crota. All of this actually adds up pretty solidly. So this was a believable tale that he could execute this on his own without too much help from any other person. And the more I sat and talked about this, the easier it was to believe this. And taking into consideration that before I had met Sada, every other person that I had met to the majority says that they can flawless it, but has yet to actually show me it's such a tale. And that's why it's very easy for me to not believe this one person, as I've not believed anybody else that stated the same presumption of an accolade that they can achieve in their own right, on their own. I've just automatically dismissed it because I've worked with a lot of them that said that they can flawless it, and they've died many times. But then they say they got to be in the zone. Alright, go for it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you get relaxed. And you still die. So, no offense, but what use are you to me? For Skada here, I didn't have to call him out on it because he took the time to sit and work with me and explain how he could go about all of this and the items he would most likely necessitate that I actually do own that are from my vault and my blueprints that I do have all possession of. And so all of this stuff does sound pretty practical. And so I took a chance on Sada as well. I allowed him access to my Destiny profile so he can use my characters and go through everything that's needed and take his time and ultimately get the trophy of the game. And he pulled it off. Like, he pulled it off after several tries or so. He pulled it off. And this was no boast. He really successfully did it. I've heard many tales of people doing it that I've worked with, but I don't believe it because they never did it. But this one here explained it, did it, and showed me how he did it. And it's just unreal. It's just didactically amazing. And I appreciate the whole execution here more than you could realize because it's given me a chance to have something I honestly thought I would never see come into my collection. And I appreciate him taking the time to work with me on this and to help me achieve this specific accomplishment. I thank you wholeheartedly. And lastly, as a finishing point here, I'm going to also address the possible pending BS that a lot of you are going to want to call out right now that, okay, you didn't earn the platinum on your own. Somebody did that for you, so stop talking. No, you stop talking and you need to listen. The platinum of the video game is not something that can be earned completely by yourself like other video games out there would easily say otherwise towards. The premise of the later portion of the video game in Destiny is to work together as a team. If you can't work together as a team, then you're not worth shit to anybody in the end. There's easily 3 to 4 pending accomplishments that you can do that require one other person to be present in order for it to be recognized as a completion. Without said person there, you can't do anything. The majority of the game, yes, you can do that on your own, but it's a lot easier, or it can only be done with at least one other person there. So don't say that you can complete the whole game on your own, because for this game that's not physically possible to do in any way, shape, or form. The completion of the game today was on account of teamwork and good communications, and I owe one person and one person alone for helping me to achieve this.